bit different. We're looking forward to covering a bit more combat-related stuff. So in today's episode, we're going to obviously cover the big fight that was last night, being the McGregor-Poirier fight. So let's just go right into it. First, I'd like to hear what your guys' opinions was of the fight itself.
I'll take the lead here because ultimately you guys are a lot more knowledgeable than me, so I feel like that's worth it. Few things I took from the fight. Obviously, I think it was quite a surprise to some that McGregor just got fucking knocked out as well. Do you know what I mean? Quick. It was in the second round, which was another surprise. It didn't last that long, but we kind of knew that Poirier would be trying to wear McGregor out more so. So just from the start of the fight, we see Conor's quite aggressive straight away, goes straight to the middle. But it was Poirier had quite an early takedown on him, which he kind of managed to fight off quite well. But I feel like that was quite a key point in the fight because after that, I feel like you could tell it took it out of him a bit, especially with McGregor backing up against the fence for fucking 3 minutes. But yeah, it was good to see the patience there. None of them were trying to force anything out of it, which was good. I liked the pace of the fight. I obviously it's important as well to comment on the low leg kicks because even in the post conference, everyone was Conor McGregor was saying, especially about how he thought that in itself, he didn't see it coming. That fucked him up. And where he's such a small muscle, it's not ready to take that impact the same. And when you see him in the second round get knocked down, I said this to you before, he just looked like it looks like his body just gave up. Like he just seemed stunned.
It wasn't necessarily, he wasn't out cold, was it? It was more it was just a volume of punches. And I think the thing with the calf kicks, I think that affected McGregor the most is the way McGregor's stance. He likes to go forward on his front foot, and he likes to be forward on his front foot quite a lot. So you take that from him, he's almost got to go into almost he didn't really do it, but it forces going almost like a karate stance, like you see Wonderboy Thompson does, where he sort of he's all on his back foot and his front foot's just kind of bouncing, ready for kicks, and he didn't really do that. So it affects his stance straight away, which I think affects his punches as well.
And even when he started as well, I think even when he started out the fight, he took a very a more boxing almost perspective of it, approach. Which is obviously then even worse. So you don't want to be getting those legs taken out. But I like the second. I thought it was going to be a bit more exciting, perhaps, than it was the second round. There was a few strong strikes in the second round, especially Poirier on the left, who just fucking chinned him. But yeah, I was slightly underwhelmed. I thought it was it was good to see a little change. It wasn't then Conor's whole change of team recently as well. Like Khabib said, he commented about it, about changing trainers, sparring partners and stuff. It's ultimately going to accumulate. It's not going to be the best story for him. And it's not like he's the best he's ever been either. But
he hasn't really fought. His last UFC fight was obviously Cowboy. Yeah, and that lasted 40 seconds. So it's not like he's been in the octagon a lot. And I just think, but firstly, I'm not saying this would have impacted the outcome of the fight. I thought the ref stopped the fight a little bit early. As soon as McGregor went down, he got one hit. Poirier didn't even get on top of him. Yeah, he didn't really no ground and pound nothing. I thought maybe because it wasn't like McGregor was out cold, eyes to the back of the head, not moving. He still could have fought better. Again, you got obviously the ref's job is to protect the fighters, and I'm not mad at the stoppage. I just thought it was stopped a tad early, but at least maybe give McGregor a chance.
But then you have to think about
Poirier on top of him, and if he can defend it,
you have to think about Herb Dean just got a lot of stick for letting Calvin Qatar take as much damage as he did in the Max Holloway fight.
Yeah, that's true.
So the refs have that in their head that they don't want to let.
And
he doesn't want to get that much
battered.
Yeah.
I said
that fight should have been stopped at some
point. But I respect him for taking it the way that he took it like a bitch. Oof.
Yeah. But carry on, Rory. What was you saying?
I think the big outcome as well that I think, I'm not trying to take anything away from Dustin Poirier. He had a great fight. His game plan with the calf kicks, everything went perfectly. The fight went literally perfectly for him. But it was, if you look at the fight and break it down, I think a little bit more, it's more of what Conor didn't do than what Dustin did do. Because what Dustin did was what Dustin does. It's not like Dustin has other than the calf kicks, really. Dustin's going to come at you. He's going to, if you're weak, if you're like a striker, he'll try and maybe take you down. Or he's a decent level striker, so he's more of a scrapper that he'll just come and just volume punch you. But he gets hit a lot. And McGregor, there was a few chances where McGregor like probably had the opportunity to go for his infamous left hand and didn't. McGregor looks a little bit tentative. Is that the right word? Yeah, to not go for the kill. Like he never really. I know he clipped him once with the left hand, but I never really saw McGregor not once went for the kill. Like, if you look at McGregor in previous fights, he's going for the kill. Yeah. Every strike there is to knock you out.
I could add to that point in a little bit.
No, go ahead.
First thing you fit. Okay. I was going to say. Yeah, so the first thing that I think Poirier done well, like what Joel said, right off the back, went straight for the takedown. And as we know, McGregor is most dangerous in the first 2 rounds. So obviously, if you take him to the ground in the first round, get his blood pumping, get him a bit worn out, makes his strikes a bit less dangerous. So obviously,
and the
McGregor
gas
down
tank, because he's always had concerns with his gas tank.
Exactly.
The one thing that affects your gas tank the most is if you've got another guy on top of you.
Exactly.
Just
I think he was quite lucky he had there, obviously, when he was in the clinch, having the height advantage. Yeah. So really kind of helped him out, and I feel like that
getting that quick. Yeah. And I think both of them went into the fight thinking it's going to be a striking match. So obviously McGregor's got amazing takedown defense, but I think that takedown got him by surprise. So obviously they're both elite boxers. They probably both went into it thinking it's going to be a striking fight. And then first thing Poirier does is go for a takedown. So that's probably
I don't know. One really expected that.
Exactly.
That was a really smart move on Poirier. Exactly. I don't know, maybe if it was just a decision on the fly, or if it was I think that as well. And I think that's really Poirier's his coaching, his team behind it, deserve a lot of credit because their game plan, they've clearly studied McGregor, and they know the two types of fighters that affect McGregor the most are wrestlers and people that are going to try and no one's really tried to kick at McGregor's legs out from
I mean he's had it himself against other fighters where he's went for leg kicks but not quite so low, above the knee, tie them that way himself.
Not calf.
Like I said, he doesn't calf kicks,
and good, especially the first one.
Yeah, it's such a like you said, it's such a small muscle, so easy to really.
And it's all related to your ankle, your nerves go, it all fucks up.
Yeah, and it's just fun. And the thing is, McGregor's not that type of fighter where he'll be like, oh, you know what? Yes, and my right, obviously you see southpaw, but his right leg out in front. I'll just go orthodox and bounce on my leg because he's not. Obviously, he's left-handed. I've never seen him go orthodox before, so I don't know if he's.
But then I think
he's comfortable with that.
He's okay with switching, but then I think if he went orthodox, the same thing would just happen to his left leg.
That's true.
That's true. Just where I think because his stance itself is not very good for leg kicks, which I thought was always a weakness. I think I mentioned it to you guys before. I said if McGregor ever fights Justin Gaethje, I think Gaethje would have won.
Just kick his legs out.
Leg kick. Yeah, Gaethje's leg kicks are disgusting. Probably got the best leg kicks in the game. And I think because where he's got that really wide stance, you can't really check kicks. You can't really lift his leg up very quickly like Wonderboy can, where Wonderboy's hopping in and out. So Wonderboy just pops out of the...
And McGregor was even saying after, even though he checked a few, even because he checked them, he still got it still made it wasn't obviously as strong as if he didn't check them. Yeah. But they were still because they had a little Poirier and McGregor had a little conversation. It was on camera after the fight saying, "Oh, maybe we do it again." Blah 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 blah. And
they were talking about the leg kick. It was just turning around. He was like, "Oh, you bastard!" I was like, he was like, and Poirier said, even when you checked it, I could feel that I was getting to the muscle.
Yeah.
So he was like, you didn't even though you checked it, he was like, it was more the accuracy of the kick than the check. But it was more
to check it. You got
what McGregor didn't do.
To check it, you got to essentially lift your leg up and turn your shin into him, which is quite a long process to do.
Especially when his stance,
Calf kick, it doesn't really matter. You can hit the lower end of the calf, you can hit the higher part. It's not really like a thigh kick where if you aim for the thigh, they lift the knee up and you hit the knee.
And it's going to kill
your shin, like Anderson Silva did. With a calf kick, you're aiming low anyway, so if they lift the leg up, it doesn't make a difference to you. But I thought and then towards the end of the fight, you could see McGregor started trying to catch them, which was a good idea because he did end up catching. I think he caught 2 or 3 kicks towards the end.
Yeah, there was a few. I feel like he could have capitalized on that. I think fair.
Yeah, but then it was too late. I think you could already see by the middle, as soon as the second round started, his foot was really heavy-footed. But just to go back to the first round, I think after they did their cage work, they had a couple shoulder strikes. They was talking to each other a little bit. You could see Poirier was a lot more confident in this fight. He was talking to McGregor the whole fight. He was pointing at him, letting him know.
Yeah, he pointed at him because he just missed with was it a left or right hook, and pointed. It was like, if I caught you there, you were done.
Exactly. And you could see it was a lot more confident.
Missed it. And then, Poirier's a completely different fighter than they thought.
And I think it was good because I think there was talk of him being quite shook in the lead up to the fight.
Yeah.
Not that he was, but that he was. That was his demeanor. That's how he was coming across.
Because he
was almost scared.
Yeah. Because he just knocked him out in their last fight. So obviously there's that nerve.
Knocked out 90 seconds. It weren't even a competitive fight. McGregor did like
just picked his shots as Poirier was rushing in. It was a pretty
and like McGregor and Poirier like hit him. I think he ironically hit him with a leg kick. I don't know if it was a calf kick, but it was a leg kick. And then McGregor went like, what was that? Like, like, are you serious? But just one other point is I was watching this morning. I told you guys off camera. I was watching True Geordie's live stream, and they were talking after the fight on the live stream. And I was just watching it, and True Geordie said this interesting part where he said that McGregor wasn't giving Poirier the respect. I'd actually argue and say it's the other way around. He gave him too much respect, especially in the build up to the fight, because we're used to seeing that McGregor that's gonna get in your face, like get personal, get in your head. Like that's how he beat Aldo. He beat Aldo because Aldo was beaten before he stepped in the octagon. Like, Aldo was done, and he wasn't doing it. He was being nice, respectful, shaking his hand, and obviously that's good to see. Like you being
it shows.
But that's not who I don't think that's not who McGregor is. And Poirier, I think Poirier saw that as a weakness, and Poirier, I think that made Poirier's confidence actually grow a little bit. And as you said, Poirier was like, "I'm happy, but I'm not surprised." Like Poirier knew what was going to happen, and McGregor, I think McGregor didn't have his heart completely into it, but I think
Poirier's good, because one thing people didn't realize, I think went over a lot of people's heads, is why McGregor couldn't land shots. Because I've seen the first round after they wrestled, I think McGregor won the round 10-9 just because towards the end of it, he was outstriking Poirier.
I agree. It was
outstriking Poirier on like. It was outstriking Poirier basically every time that was going.
Yeah, he never hit him with a clean shot, but he was definitely. I'd say he was more the aggressor, and he was definitely. He clipped him a few times, but nothing like major. Just like the average shot you'd see in the octagon.
But I know why he didn't clip him with a clean shot, because one thing that Poirier did differently to what he did the first round and what first fight and what every other southpaw does against McGregor is they always, as a southpaw, you're gonna go to your right, so that they're essentially going towards McGregor's left, which is his strong hand.
Yeah,
and then that leaves you open for the straight. But what Poirier did instead was he went to his left, so he's going to McGregor's right, and McGregor can't land that left hook.
Exactly, and that's what McGregor uses his kicks for. He uses his kicks to set up that left hand. Like when you see him kick, obviously against Ronnie, he connected the kick, but if you look at most of his fights, he uses most of those kicks to force you to his left hand. So you're so worried about his kicks, and then that's how he's connected. Like when you see him kick and stuff, that they're not really, obviously if he connects, like they'll knock you out, but most of his kicks are set up for that left hand. And I think and after, especially going back to the calf kicks, he can't do that lead kick because he loves to kick with that lead leg, and he couldn't really, and obviously couldn't really stand on it, so he couldn't do like stand on that kick with his other leg. But I think we'll go towards the end a little bit. What do you guys think's next for both these guys? We'll start with you, Joe.
Okay, well, we said like with him is obviously now he's looking at getting a shot at the title. It's just dependent on who he thinks is going to be. Who he really thinks is going to be good enough for that, because especially he's saying he's spent all this time, he's beat all these top fighters over the course, and I feel like he wants to feel that he wants to have a worthy opponent for that. I mean, we obviously know what's coming for him. Conor McGregor, I don't know, man. Like with him, no, especially with he has fought for so long, he's been such a big name, but he's been in and out. Like people expected him to win this. He's going to go down in people's estimations. There was talk of Khabib coming back if he did win. I always kind of said I don't.
Sounds like Khabib has no interest in it.
He
said to Dana White. He literally said to Dana White, he went, "Look, I'm so much better than all these guys. Why would I come back?"
I mean that's the thing, and that's it. I've said this. He seems like the type of guy. Like he said, he's not going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it. But with this going badly for McGregor, you never know. He might actually end up fighting Joe.
What I think it would be next up, he even put out, he said he wants like no other fight interests him other than either, I think he said McGregor 3, Nate Diaz, or Charles Oliveira, which will be a really good fucking fight. I think next for him will be Charles Oliveira, which will be probably, if Khabib does end up retiring, it'll probably be Poirier and Oliveira for the title. And then they'll probably do Chandler, because obviously Mike Chandler just won his fight against Hooker.
Yeah, but he said himself that he doesn't think that that's good enough still. Like, he doesn't feel like...
Poirier said he won't fight Chandler.
I get where he's coming from. Because he's just coming from Bellator. He's defeated Dan Hooker, who's a good fighter, but it was, rank 6?
Yeah.
And then he believes that he doesn't deserve a title shot straight off the back. Like, 2 fights in, second fight shouldn't be a title shot.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Definitely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of top fighters you need to go through to really show your worth for it.
I mean, you still got Tony Ferguson there. I know Tony Ferguson's on a 2-fight losing streak, but we can't count him out of not being a top lightweight in the division. And of course, you've got Justin Gaethje, which I think probably be his next fight. I reckon they'll do Chandler versus Gaethje, and then Poirier versus Oliveira for the title, and then there'll be Chandler versus Gaethje for #1 contender, and the winners of each will fight the next one. That could be retired. And then for McGregor, I'm not too sure. They could do a Nate Diaz free. They'll probably do a Poirier McGregor free towards the end of the year, maybe.
I think I'm more interested in seeing a Poirier McGregor free than a Nate Diaz. McGregor free.
Yeah, because Nate Diaz is Nate Diaz hasn't been since he lost to Masvidal. I don't think he's fought, has he?
No, that was his last fight. The loss.
Yeah, and Nate Diaz he's not. If he fights Nate Diaz, that's not going to put McGregor anywhere. That's just going to be strictly entertainment. That's not going to put you in title contention if you beat Nate Diaz. So essentially, we'll probably have to, if he wants to go back for the title, we have to be Poirier free, or you could do a McGregor Gaethje, maybe. If Gaethje beats Mike Chandler.
There's options. There's options. Yeah.
And
also, I don't think it's going to be held in the same stead that he was held out. Obviously,
because obviously it's the first time he's ever been knocked out as well. He's never been knocked out.
Yeah,
before.
first time. It's the first time in his career he's really been out, like on the feet. He's been outdone on the feet. Like even when he fought Khabib, I know Khabib hit him with overhand right, but it was like when they were on the feet. McGregor
he's never been outstruck before. He's never been outstruck
until really last night. I'll go on here with Poirier. I think Poirier's next fight has to be a title fight, and I don't see any other option for him other than a title fight. But I think what he'll do is he can just sit back, not take the full year. I think he'll only fight. I reckon I only see him fight maybe one more time this year, Poirier. Maybe 2 if McGregor 3 happens. But I think that he should just sit back, let Oliveira fight, let Gaethje have another fight, let Chandler have another fight.
Kind of play out.
I don't see Khabib coming back. I see Khabib because he's still technically the champion, but I see him forfeiting the belt when he retires. Yeah. And then it will be out of He already said he wants to forfeit it.
It's just Dana's left it with him. Dana's not letting him forfeit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but I think there'll be a title at the minimum interim belt. But I think it will be. Yeah. I think it will be. I like the Oliveira matchup against Poirier, but I think Oliveira needs to win one more. I think he needs to have one more win. I
thought Tony Ferguson was a good enough win. Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, I just want to see
number 2.
Yeah, I want to see one more. I want to see one more. I know he's on he's beaten a couple of guys recently, a couple of good guys.
Like recently. a six fight streak or something.
But I think if he can win one more against a high level, maybe even a Gaethje or even a McGregor, if that was on the cards, if he can beat one of those two and really almost prove that Ferguson wasn't a fluke. And it was just because you caught Ferguson on a bad day. I'm not saying it was, but some people, I guess, can see it that way.
No, then I'd be like,
ass clear him. Ferguson was never in that fight, but he. I think that would be a good option for Poirier, and I think for McGregor, I like the idea of Diaz 3 as his next fight. But the interesting thing would be at what weight class? Would it be at 70 or 55? Because obviously they've both fought. They fought once at 70 and once at 55, and I think it depends. It doesn't really matter, but I think that's the only thing. I guess it could matter because at 70, I think he gave Diaz the slight advantage because if you go to 55, Diaz will have to cut more weight.
If they want an entertaining fight, they could always go because there was talks for McGregor and Masvidal. That's also an option because Masvidal.
I don't see that working out. Masvidal's too big for McGregor. I think Masvidal's a legit 6 foot.
No, Masvidal came up from 155. He came up from one.
But I just see Masvidal's natural fit is 170. McGregor's a natural 155. He's not. 170. I think is pushing a little bit. But also
Masvidal said on the Joe Rogan podcast that he walks around at 200 pounds, which I think is chatting shit. But
I don't think he's quite that heavy. But he's probably. I'd say 190. He's probably walks out around. But I think for McGregor, I think also a fight that not many people. I've seen 1 or 2 people talk about when I've looked online is McGregor Ferguson, both coming off losses. I think that'd be a very good fight. Both coming off losses, maybe confidence a little low for both of them because, especially with Ferguson, because Ferguson just got outdone no matter what happened in the fight. Outstruck, they took it down. He was getting done. Oh yeah, he's lost 2 in a row, hasn't he? Yeah. So
Gaethje then Oliveira.
Yeah, Gaethje it was not like that was a terribly close fight. Gaethje was just winning. Maybe Ferguson got a round in that, but Gaethje.
I don't even think he got a round. I think it was.
I wouldn't give him a round, but I think some people gave him the first or second. I can't remember. I think he hasn't really, in theory, he hasn't won a round in his last 2 fights. Do you know what I mean? So I think that'd be a very good fight, and that would save one of their careers, or one of their careers would go downhill. Yeah. But I also wouldn't be surprised if this is McGregor's last fight in the UFC.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I
really would. He's got 100 million in the bank. He doesn't need to make any money. He's got obviously all his business ventures with the whiskey, and he's done other things as well. He's now a family man. He's got 2 kids and a wife.
I don't think it's heart's in it. I don't think.
Yeah,
I mean, even though he lost in his last fight, in his last 3 fights, he is 1-2, which obviously is not great. But let's be honest, what has he got to prove? He's the first ever champion in 2 weights at the same time. He's won multiple fights over 3 weight divisions. I couldn't tell you anyone that's done that.
But this is what I mean. I think he's kind of he's got himself a legacy now. And I think you don't want to, especially when you consider the record reason. I don't think you want to take that down. For him, you don't want to taint it. You don't want to taint what you have.
I think it's 22-5 or something now.
Yeah, that's it. You don't. Like I said, you don't see the same. You don't see the same from him as you did. You know, I mean, he's been fighting a good few fucking years. Obviously, like you say, he's got the family. He's got other things. Like, I don't think he needs to. I think he will have a few more fights. I don't think he'll want to take that. As, do you know what I mean? But I don't think he's got much.
I think this will go one of 2 ways. Either he has no motivation, just like, you know what, I'm done. I was beaten by the better man. Like, I've not really got it anymore. Blah blah blah. Like Khabib McGregor 2 will probably never happen, depending on if Khabib wants to come back.
I don't think that ever should have happened. I would have never I don't think anyone deserves a rematch against Khabib.
The one thing I'd argue against his last 2 losses against Poirier and Khabib is he faced Khabib when Khabib was at his best, McGregor was at his worst, and you can argue that McGregor was at his worst today and Poirier was at his best. It's an argument. I'm not saying it's like real worst, but he's not when he performs. In my opinion, he's the pound for pound best ever that did it.
I mean, to be fair,
but you need someone who's going to consistently perform. I feel like if you look at it, be like, oh, he's had a bad day. He's had a bad day several times. You're like, well, he needs to be more consistent than that to be up there. Do you know what I mean?
I think there's a chance this fight. He looks at this fight and he's like, obviously, his emotions will be all over the place now, and he needs a good couple of weeks of it just to get his mind right over the fact that he lost. But I think he needs to. I think there's a chance this motivates him more than ever, and he comes back because he said he wants to fight potentially 2 or 3 times this year. Yeah. So if he comes back, I don't know, like between June and August time, and he comes back a killer, I think there's a real chance he comes back as the best Conor McGregor we've ever seen, and he comes back and just fucks people up like they do a Poirier 3.
I don't see.
I'm not saying.
I think you're too much on the McGregor hype train, Rory. I think you're too much on his hype train.
I should be more on the McGregor hype train than me.
Yeah, no,
you said that about this fight. You said he's going to come back looking better than ever.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was really disappointed in how bad he looked, but yeah.
Hopefully,
I hope for him he comes back the killer, because let's be honest, the UFC, I think the best moments in the UFC was when Conor McGregor was that killer and just going and just beating everyone he faced,
just chatting absolute shit about
everyone. Like, and he's just backing it up. Like,
it is.
Obviously,
it was the backing it up's the best bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's had recently the last few years had like stuff happen in his personal life that's not gone well and stuff like that. But for example, like you look at someone like John Jones, who's obviously arguably the best fighter that's ever done it, and but he's never. The thing with John Jones is he's had like drug problems. He's failed multiple drug tests in the UFC. Yeah. McGregor's never done that. Like he's so it's one of those things where McGregor is definitely I think still, even though he lost, McGregor is still the poster boy for the UFC. Like when you think of UFC, I think everyone, probably 9 times out of 10 people go, oh, McGregor. Like you can go to the street and it's like you go name a UFC fighter, Conor McGregor will be the first name out that mouth. And it's also like, do you get what I mean? Like it's I think if he can I really hope for his sake, so I really would love to see another just one more run where he can have like 6 fights in the next maybe 3 years, or 6 to maybe 8 fights in the next 3 years. Yeah. I doubt it will happen, but I'm just hoping that he can do that. Maybe go 8-0 in the next 3 years, get his title back, because I think he's still hungry for the title. But especially if he comes back and loses again, I think he's done if he loses again.
No, I think there's too much talent in lightweight, but so
I'm gonna be surprised if he goes to 170 permanently.
So we'll wrap up there. So if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more future videos on us talking about different combat sports, whether it be UFC, boxing, anything like that, Just leave a comment down below and be sure to like and subscribe.